Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Jonny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Good afternoon, Big Eags. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and it's Brad and Jonny with the homebrew chat. My mug has proven to be the star of this week's episode, Brad. Did you see that?
I did. It's a sort of nice cultural, a show that references a lot of cultural references. It's nice that people have spotted it within our
absolutely
thing. Yeah, it's very meta.
I didn't quite have the balls to sing it. Maybe I'll pluck up the courage by the end of the podcast. But yes, Troy and Arbed were referenced in the mug that I was drinking from in this week's episode. And I was delighted to see so many people pick up on that, particularly in a week in which, I won't spoil who our guest is, but hopefully next week's Bubble episode includes lots of community talk too with a famous comedian. So community is all up in my life right now. Bradley, how's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just ticking along. You know, the world is a strange place right now. So trying to make it better by making my own beef bourguignon. Made two beef bourguignons this week, Jonny. So I can't be doing too bad.
You're so pleased with the first one. Yeah. You went for a second.
Yeah, I think it was probably the best thing I've ever cooked. So I just thought I'd do it again. Get the recipe locked in my brain, so I didn't have to read the recipe again. It was damn tasty.
And you didn't take my tip of using Duchesse, you're still wine.
Yeah, I just had a half a bottle of Pinot Noir left, so boshed it in the second time round. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. But yeah, I think like a Flanders sort of beer or something like that would be real nice. But
like a beef carbonade, yeah.
Stuck with the red though.
Yeah. Well, if you want Brad's beef bourguignon recipe, that's a mouthful, and so is the stew. Just DM him. I'm sure he'd be delighted to take, because he's told me about it about 3 times this week. So he's clearly very proud of his bourguignon.
That's good.
Good. Well, I'm glad. What did you think of the video? We kind of pulled it out of the bag at the very last minute because. Basically, the post office did not do us any solids in that we sent Andy the beer in plenty of time, and it arrived an hour before the video was supposed to go live.
Classic.
So there was some proper crunch time editing happening. So I apologise. Some of the sound isn't perfect in that video, and that's partly because I just had to get that video live.
Yes.
But it was a lot of fun, and we've had loads of comments off the back of that. I thought pumpkin beer would be more controversial than it has proved. Everyone's just like, yeah, pumpkin beer is great.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be the subject of a lot of consternation, but it seems like people are pretty open to it. I guess we put our own spin on it, so it's not super pumpkin-y beer. It's more of a kind of coffee beer, but yeah.
I really enjoyed Andy's video that he sent us, because I think he was the whole time just looking for euphemisms for there's too much spice in this.
Yeah.
And he was very polite about it, but I think he thought it was probably a little bit out of balance.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jonny,
but then,
I've actually got my growler with me here, so I'm just going to... Hang on. Oh, I didn't... There we go, a little bit. I'm just,
you didn't seal it properly.
Just pouring some out. See how it's tasting. Trying to get a bit of head life back into it. So I can tell you. How's it tasting? Oh, mate, it's still pretty good. Carbonation is kind of gone, but
who'd have thought it?
yeah, made it back to South London a few days ago, and it's been sat in my fridge in a Grolsch top. Yeah, but it's still tasting great, man. I feel like the coffee is coming through even more now somehow.
Oh right, really? Oh, good.
Yeah,
it's interesting how beers seem to go through sort of peaks and troughs rather than just slowly degrading. Like we've always fetishized freshness in beer, but actually drinking it straight off of the canning or the bottling line, it can not taste perfect. You can get what's sort of called bottle shock, but 2 or 3 weeks in, a really hoppy beer or something that's got a lot of coffee in it can really start to sing. So I'm glad it's tasting good 3 days later. Maybe it needed, perversely, a bit of oxygen to get that coffee singing. Who knows? Well, I'm glad it's tasting good. I thought it was a really nice beer, just probably not for everybody. I wouldn't call it balanced. It was a pretty fearsome beer, but balance has gone out the window in most bits of brewing, really. So that's not particularly unusual.
Yeah, balance is overrated, I reckon. Now we're all about, pushing the edges a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, certainly
there's the title of the podcast.
Fun things like this. I think balance is key in a lot of styles, but things like this are fun. We should have fun with them.
No one turns to a pumpkin spice latte porter looking for balance.
No.
And they certainly didn't get it.
No.
The comments were all super positive. Lots of people very excited about pumpkin beer. Most of the comments that I enjoyed were indeed Troy and Arbed in the morning based. And a couple of other homebrew questions, sort of really sort of detailed, specific technical ones, which I'm hoping we will get to. But at the moment, we're just really enjoying playing with recipes and narratives and pushing ourselves, which we'll definitely be doing for our Christmas brew, which was in the planning right now. But we will come back and do some more technical homebrew videos, I think, because we're assuming a bit of knowledge out there at the moment, and maybe that's not entirely fair. We're getting questions about why you'd put your beer in a fridge and stuff like that. Just so you know, the fridge isn't always cold. It's just keeping that temperature at a constant level. What comments caught your eye?
I liked the one from Matt Soma, who said, as a fellow craft beer geek and Spice Girls fan, I approve of all this talk. Looking forward to even more Spice Girls talk on a future episode. So I guess I did sort of go on about it a little bit. That's the extent of my knowledge with Spice Girls, though. So I don't want to disappoint anyone, especially not Matt. But what can I say? We've found out you love Mel B the most. We brewed
Mel C.
Mel C. Sorry.
Come on, man, get it right.
Mel C. Yeah, she's got a great voice. Mel B is we kind of aimed for a scary spice, but we got more of a ginger spice in what we actually brewed. So there you go. I don't know what else to say to Matt really, but other than don't know. Maybe we could potentially make a series of beers at some point if we ever went commercial that were Spice Girls song titles. I quite like the idea of two become one. Maybe that's 2 hops that go into it and they kind of sing and harmonise and are beautiful. We've got Spice Up Your Life, obviously, which would be the name of this beer. And then is there a song called Too Much, I think? That could have too much of everything in it. So it could be
it's a pastry stout, too much
DDH,
of something is just as tough. I can't believe we're quoting Spice Girls on a podcast.
Yeah, I reckon there's loads of great Spice Girls song names that would make great beer titles. In a way that
since
Pomona Island have all the sort of funny names. We could just do a whole Spice Girls one. So we're doing the Spice Girls brewery.
I'd be more of an All Saints kind of push. That's what I prefer. Black coffee, booty call. No, it was Spice Girls. Thinking about it, Spice Girls themed brewery. That's what we're opening. It's confirmed. We had lots of people actually comment going like, "When are you opening a brewery?" And I basically said when you can make money from it. Maybe Spice Girls will be the way we can do that.
Yeah,
there's certainly a niche, not a niche audience, a giant audience.
Yeah,
Spice Girls beer, we could get in the Daily Mail with that.
Exactly, if we could actually get in with the Spice Girls as well, and get them on board, We could
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, Mel C lives my way.
Well, there you go. That's how we're in, mate. You
I've
need to
seen her
get
in the
jogging in the park and sort of start whispering in her ear, giving her some ideas about how we could do some collabs. I mean, if Michaela can get
I think
Rick
if I
Astley,
start
then
stalking Mel C and whispering in her ear, I'm going to get arrested, not a collab.
No. I mean, Michaela, how did
Rightly.
they get Rick? They've done something to get Rick Astley. So, it's a natural thing.
Probably wasn't whispering in his ear, though, Brad.
Nah, I don't know, man.
Do you know how collabs happen in beer?
No, I think it's through chasing off people in parks, definitely. Or rickrolling people and such. It's the way to go, definitely.
There we go. There's a business plan right there. We'll head to the bank with that. Cool. So we haven't talked about my week yet, Brad. You haven't even asked how I am.
I know you're all right. You're always all right, Jonny.
I'm glad you think that. This week I've been working on something exciting. I'm currently sat in what looks like a sauna, but I'm assured is an office at Hackney Brewery, who are sort of seasoned veterans of the scene, founding in 2011. And they've been in the same site for nearly a decade now, and they're moving up to the Black Horse Beer Mile, which is a rival Bermondsey Beer Mile up in near Tottenham, where there's Signature, there's Wildcard, there's Exhale, there's someone else, Pete. Who am I missing?
Signature, Truman's are up there.
Truman's have moved up there as well. There's all sorts up there, so you can have a day out once it's safe, drinking up there, and Hackney will be part of that. And so I'm helping them with their crowdfunding campaign after doing Verdant and a couple of others. So that's what I've been doing today.
Nice.
And otherwise, I've just been editing that pumpkin spice latte video. Feels like for the last century. So I'm excited for next week's video, which is a food-based one.
Oh yes.
With hopped sauce,
nice.
Which is hoppy hot sauce. That's a collaboration that probably works better than Spice Girls and beer. So I'm excited about that. I've just started the edit on that one, which is I think it's going to be a really great video. You were skeptical during the shoot about my cheese toasty. I could sense it.
Yeah, I wanted to take it in a different direction, but it was still great.
What was your direction?
I'm sort of struggling to remember. I wanted to do a Philly cheesesteak. That was your mushroom one. We're giving the game away here. We're talking shop too much. You don't want to spoil it. No spoilers.
I came to Brad with the idea for a vegan sandwich, and within a minute it had turned into a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, of course.
That's Brad's approach to veganism. Just add meat and cheese.
That's it. Everything's better with cheese. We all know this.
Most things are, unless you're a vegan, Brad, which I think I remember trying to explain to you in the middle of Borough Market.
Well, what about if you're a Cheegan? Kevin Cheegan.
Is that a thing?
Don't know. Just like a vegan who eats meat. No, that's not a thing, is it? Definitely not.
There we go. We've gone down a strange place already. What was the other thing we were going to mention?
We need to do the question from the man.
That's the one. That's the one. Cool. Right. It's question time then. So we've got a little queue of questions forming now. We're getting loads coming through Instagram, through our email, but we'd still love to hear your questions if you've got them. All you have to do is record a little segment. You can just do that on whatever app you have on your phone or on your computer and just send it to craftbeerboys@gmail.com and we will play it in the podcast and we will answer it in the podcast. So this week we have a question from Joshua Muller, who wants to know something about beer journalism and beer writing. So let's hear what Josh has to say and then we will give him the answer he deserves.
It's Josh here in North London. I'm a big fan of the Craft Beer channel. A subscriber, recently became a patron, and really been enjoying the videos you've put out there of going to different countries, trying out different beers, going to different breweries. I'm sure there are many people like me who've really been wanting to get out and try new things and explore different cultures who've been unable to recently. My question today is about beer journalism and beer writing and what you'd recommend to someone who's looking to get into that for the first time any tips or pieces of advice that you'd have. My background specifically in writing is philosophy. I'm an MPhil student. I'm studying philosophy. So anything you'd say to someone who has an academic background or a background in or interest in philosophy or anything sort of like that, how they could apply that to beer and beer writing, and anything you'd say to someone who's generally looking to get into beer writing and beer journalism for the first time, it would be really great to hear. Really looking forward to seeing all your upcoming videos and listening to the upcoming podcasts. And yeah, all the best. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Joshua Mellor. That's an in-depth, important question, and I'm stalling to think of an answer.
Yeah.
So actually, most of the money that I make, most of my job is beer writing for Good Beer Hunting, Ferment, written for Pellicle, which is a great new magazine about beer, food, wine, cider. Breaking into that world is incredibly hard. I mean, writing's sort of become a bit like being a musician. Like, only a few people actually get paid very well to do it. So it's a bit of a tough world out there in beer journalism, particularly at the moment as well. But I mean, the main tips I would say is the classic one, which is read everything that you can, and listen to everything you can, and watch everything that you can, because the biggest stumbling block with a lot of beer writers is using the same phrases, the same intonations, going to the same people, and having a unique take on it will come from, swallowing everything that everyone else is doing and finding your own voice. Picking bits that are great and leaving bits that you think are sort of cliched or overused. So yeah, consume as much beer media as you possibly can. And also use that and start writing. Like, writing's like a muscle. Like, if you stop writing for a bit, it gets weaker and you get slower. And, when I had a full-time job and I wasn't able to write that much, my writing was significantly worse than it probably is now, where I've been doing it constantly. So even if you're not publishing stuff, get writing, whether it's on Instagram, which is where a lot of bloggers have moved to. There's not much beer blogging going on anymore. Now it's mostly sort of people doing long posts on Instagram, or whether it's just writing for yourself and not publishing it. That's a super important thing to do. And then finally, it's networking. Like, the best thing you can do is meet the people that might be commissioning. So meet the editors of Ferment, meet other beer writers, get chatting to them, and they'll obviously be able to point you towards people that can sort of give you that work and point you in the way of those commissions. So it's a really sort of friendly industry where, it is kind of who you know as much as it is what you know, which has its benefits and its drawbacks. But it sounds like if you've got a background in philosophy, that's a really interesting approach. There's a lot of philosophy in beer, whether it's philosophy in the liquid that you're drinking or whether it's in the way that we have to conduct ourselves. Craft beer is basically a philosophical concept, really. We don't know what it is from a technical perspective, but we know what it is when we taste it. So it's a subjective thing. There's lots of philosophy in that. So I'd be really interested to hear some philosophical approaches to beer. Lily Waite, who's an amazing writer, she did a piece on Good Beer Hunting all about hyperreality and beer that was one of the best reads I've had this year, taking that sort of philosophical framework. So yeah, Josh, if you start writing stuff, I'd love to hear from you and see what you produce if it's coming from that philosophical point of view. Brad, I've rambled. What do you think?
Josh, I think you've got a very interesting background there. I can't think of a place that gets much more philosophical than a pub of an evening. Everyone, once they've had a few libations, loosens up a little bit. And, you can get more philosophical about life and, just get really nattering. I've kind of had this idea in the back of my head that I want to do, which is about the pub philosopher or pub philosophy, as an idea for a book or for something, or maybe a series on our YouTube channel. But I always found it incredibly interesting having conversations with people, strangers, friends in pubs, and you can really go down a lot of tangents, which, as you know, if you're a regular listener, Brad loves going on a tangent. So for me, pub philosophy is where it's at. Just maybe not with some of the racism and weird stuff you might get with some fruity characters in random pubs. But I've had some wonderful talks with random people pre-COVID, and I can't wait to get back into a boozer so I can get back nattering people's ears off.
Yeah, I think there'd definitely be a YouTube playlist in Brad's random conversations while Jonny's trying to film something. I'd be up for that video. Okay, so that's all we have time for this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Josh for the questions, and thanks to all you guys for the comments in this week's video. Please keep adding those because we do go back to older videos occasionally to pick out some great comments. So keep putting them in there and obviously keep commenting on our new ones. If you want to find out more about Hackney Brewery's Pay It Forward scheme, you can go to the link in the description box below where there'll be a form you can fill in to learn more about that. And obviously look out for our sandwich video, which we've been teasing throughout this podcast that's going live next week with hopped sauces. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you again on Wednesday at 4 p.m, as always, on the YouTubes. The Bubble Podcast is brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. Head to youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel to watch this week's video and over 400 more exciting episodes. If you love what we do, please do subscribe and even join our Patreon at patreon.com/craftbeerchannel. Love and beer.